Today I've got a review of the Nitecore TM06S, provided by my good friends at Banggood for review. Nitecore describes this light, as you can see, as the tiny monster. And wow, really is it. At 4,000 lumens in turbo mode, it easily lights up just about any space. It's center focused, but with a wide spill of about and an angle of about 100 degrees. It's not a focused thrower, but goes quite a distance with the claimed 395 meter beam. In my testing, it was hard to see to that distance. I did take it out to a local park and it was able to light up quite a bit, and the bugs loved it too. You'll see that footage later in the review. So what I want to do is show you the power of this light at 4,000 lumens. So I've got a piece of thermal paper here that'll just hold over the light. We'll see how well this shows up on camera. But as it heats up, there we go. We can just start to see it, I hope. It's smoking the paper. Let's get this to maybe show up here. But it's doing quite a number. It's causing this paper to smoke a pretty good amount. And I'll hold it here for just a second or two. Now on turbo mode, this light does get hot. In my testing, I got it to 128 degrees. That's just pretty hot. So here we can kind of see it's so hot that it creates a black mark on the thermal paper in the spot in the shape of the emitters. Pretty cool. I don't think it's really dangerous. At least this isn't. It doesn't get the paper hot enough to burn or anything like that. So here's the emitter. This light contains 4 Cree XM L2U3 LEDs in cool white with a quad-core reflector. As far as I can tell, it's a metal base, and you can see some machining marks in it, so it's not a complete mirror polish, but it's pretty close. These LEDs are domed. The tint on these seem to be a little bit on the green side to me. I notice it more indoors than outdoors. And like I was saying, this light does get hot while in use on the higher modes. On turbo, there's a kick down that I experienced about 5 degrees that's temperature regulated. I kind of overrode this for my test period, which is 10 minutes while my thermocouple was attached. And the light got to 128 degrees. And that is hot. That is too hot to comfortably hold in the hand. And it really starts to radiate down the light of the body, especially with the batteries inside here. It's not great on the batteries either to get that hot. Now, I don't think this is too much of a concern because you're unlikely to use this at 4,000 lumens for the entire time, and it does have those protections built in. So just don't override the protections. This quad-core reflector does do a pretty good job of giving a decent amount of throw, yet a much lighter, wide spill. It's deeper than other reflectors that I have, such as the Lumin Top here. And I'll talk more about that in a second. But as you can see, the Lumin Top's not nearly as deep as the Nitecore. You do need, one thing also to note is you do need button top batteries for this light. I tried with some Panasonics that were flat tops and no protection, and they were short enough where they rattled around even a little bit. With the button tops in here, makes no noise. This light has a total of 5 modes with direct access to low and turbo. Ultra low is rated at 3 lumens while turbo is at 4,000 lumens. Here's a runtime chart showing all the other runtimes and the lumens they produce. I was pretty impressed. 3 lumens for 560 hours. That is a long, long runtime. And even turbo mode of 4,000 lumens of an hour, I think is pretty good. Granted, you're not going to run that. The light's going to turn down into turbo or high, which is 1,500, and that says run for 4 hours. So reality is your high runtime is more like 4 hours. I did think these modes are pretty well spaced out in my testing, and that's not something that can be said of all other flashlights. So here's the button on this light, and this is the single button that does everything. And it's a nice solid button. It's machined metal, I believe. It may be a plastic center. It is rubber mounted and it kind of moves around a little bit. This turns the light on and off in a standard way, just a simple press. But to change modes, you kind of half press it, kind of jog it. It's hard to describe here. Handing this light to somebody new, they don't get it right away. You've kind of got to play with it and feel it to get it. There isn't a ton of difference between turning on and off. That's a very distinctive click, but these half modes, you kind of just have to learn how much to press. So when the light's on, to go to strobe, you long press, and you go to strobe, and then you can press the modes. And there, see, I did it wrong here. So strobe, and then you do modes, and you go to to beacon and SOS. The light does have memory, so if it's on, it remembers where you were at, and you can step through those modes. If you shut it off, and it comes back to where it is. This switch also has a locate feature that I found really easy to press by accident. So when the light's off, you just press you just do a half press, and you can see the blue LEDs come on around here. That is the locate mode. And this does consume a little bit of power, so if you don't need it, I'd recommend shutting it off. In the included holster, I found that it did get pressed every once in a while. This also acts as a low voltage indicator for the LEDs. I believe it's when you screw on the tail cap, it does a flashing sequence to tell you the charge. Here are my tabletop beam shots, and for this type of light, this isn't going to be ideal, but we'll give it a go. So here is the lowest mode at 3 lumens. Next is 160, and this is a good way to show the beam angle and the hot center of this light. Next is 480 lumens, 1500 lumens, and turbo of 4000. Here are my backyard shots for the Nitecore TM06S. In the lowest mode is 3 lumens, and as usual, that you really can't see that. Bumping up is 160 lumens, and you can begin to see it. This is a nice idea of the beam. It's a hot, large center, but then quite a bit of spill. Bumping up is 480 lumens. Bumping up again is 1500, so quite a jump. Again, you can see a hot center with spill. And this is turbo, which is 4000 lumens. Hot center and a lot of spill there. I think this is the first light I've had that really illuminates the entire frame while in my backyard. Pretty impressive. And here is strobe. And I've come out to a local park here at night just to show you the distance and how well this thing illuminates so much. And this is turbo, a full 4000 lumens. And it'll run this way for about 5 minutes or so before coming down in brightness to high due to the heat. And here you can really see, I can go to the very end of this clearing, which is probably close to 75 yards, 100 yards. No problem at all getting there. Here is strobe. Here is SOS and beacon. And here's the parking lot as well, and you can really see down the parking lot really well. You can see the trees on the other side of the road, and you can really see on the parking lot as it reflects. You can see the hot center and the spill of this light. Again, it's just really impressive. It does a great job of lighting up this area, and it is pretty warm. This is the Lumin Top PS03, and I just wanted to compare it because it's a 3 light for 18650 light, very similar form factor. And you can see it's just not nearly as wide a beam. It's a smoother beam and doesn't go nearly as far. And this is the Nitecore again. It's a lot hotter center and it goes pretty far. Pretty nice beam, and it spreads out nicer too. Overall, I think it's the nicer light. Machining on this light is good, and from Nitecore I'd expect that. The bezel here is the bezel here is steel instead of aluminum like the rest of the light. And I like that because if it's dropped, that steel is going to hold up better than an aluminum one would. There's nice knurling on the sides here, and this light really is as compact as possible. They've even taken out material here on the sides to make it a little more contoured for your hand. Inside the light is the circuit board, and this is a different design that I haven't seen before. So your circuit board here spins inside the cap to make contact. I'm a little bit concerned that over time that contact may wear out, but so far so good. These pins orientate to these holes in the light to make sure they line up properly and the polarity of everything is correct. Down inside the light you can see the circuit board. It does have polarity indicators down at the bottom with the springs, and then along the wall here it does have a battery indicator showing which direction each cell should go. So there's multiple polarity indicators all over this light, down in the bottom, on the sidewalls, and on the cap. The threads on this light are pretty well cut. They're not square. They were greased pretty well, but I did find them to be a little bit grainy. And as you can see, they do have a decent amount of wear on them already starting. And I've only probably taken the cap on and off this light maybe, I don't know, less than 10 times. So I want to do a size comparison with the Lumin PS03 that I've also reviewed and the Nitecore Tiny Monster TM06S. And as you can see, the Nitecore is smaller in length by about half an inch or so. It is slightly smaller in diameter, although very similar. And as you can see, the diameters are different. That being said, the weight is also different between the two. So both are with lanyards. Not a completely fair comparison, but close enough. Both have batteries. The Lumin comes in at 18 ounces with batteries. So a flashlight that's over a pound. And the Nitecore comes in at 16.27, just right at a pound. So to me, the Nitecore is nicer. It's just a little bit lighter, although that difference isn't perceivable. And it's also smaller. I think it's about as small as it could be. Now here's one thing I did not like. So one of the benefits of these lights is that you can tail stand them. Except where Nitecore chose to put the lanyard, I think is really a bad choice. So it's just a hole through one of these lugs, as you can see. And you put the lanyard on, and you can kind of pull it off to the side, but it just doesn't want to stay there. So the light doesn't sit perfectly flat anymore. It wants to lean a little bit. It makes it a little bit unstable. Lumin when they did that, they put a lanyard on the side here. That works really well, because then the light sits perfectly flat, very stable. I like a lanyard on this style of light. It's heavy enough, and they're expensive enough that if I'm carrying this and using this, I don't want to drop it. And they do get warm, so it's nice just to have that lanyard, have it around your wrist for just a little bit extra security. While we're talking about construction and the exterior of the light, this is one of the first lights I've had that really has a 5-step warning guide on the light itself. And as you can see there, it's all about batteries and power. This light is powerful enough where that's a concern. It has your patents on there, Chinese patents, and then Nitecore as well. So here's the box the light came in, and it's a pretty generic box. I'm guessing this is probably the Chinese market box, and I'll tell you why. Inside, it came just foam like this. It does include a holster, which I'll show you in a minute. It has a little accessories booklet. It shows other Nitecore models. It came with an O-ring and the lanyard. It came with a warranty card in English, but the manual itself was in Chinese. Not very helpful for the US market. Thankfully, you can go onto Nitecore's website here and download the exact same thing in English. And here is the holster it came with. It is a Nitecore branded holster, and it's one of the better holsters. It comes lined with a liner inside here, so it's not just real flimsy nylon, and I like that. You can put the light in face up or down. On a big light like this, if you're going to carry it, this is definitely a nice way to go. It keeps the light nice, but also would keep it on your belt pretty nice. It's got a plastic D-ring and a Velcro belt loop. So in summary, while not the most practical light, given its cost and large diameter, its power to size ratio is really fun. For this class of light, it's on the smaller side of things. It's smaller than a pop can. I wish something like this existed when I was in Boy Scouts. It would have been a ton of fun to light up the entire camp or maybe even burn some leaves. Back in those days, a mag light was super cool, but the cost of D-cells batteries sucked. This light gives you over-the-top performance in a relatively small package with the wonderful flexibility of rechargeable 18650 batteries. This light does get pretty hot and remains hot for quite a while. This isn't unique to Nitecore. It's really the physics of having so much power and so much light in such a small package. I like this light, but wouldn't say it's the most practical. I did use it one night when I pretended the power went out and I cooked dinner and ate it by the light of the flashlight. I bounced the light off my ceiling and was pretty comfortable eating at 480 lumens and cooking at 1500. So if the power went out, this is a pretty effective lantern as well, even though it's really not designed for that. The long runtime is definitely a plus on the lower modes. With 4 18650 batteries there, you have a ton of capacity to draw off of, especially if you're using higher capacity batteries. Overall, this is a fun and impressive light, and definitely something you can amaze your friends with. Thanks for watching this video. I'd appreciate a like and subscribe. I've got more flashlight videos coming here in the future. Thanks.